So hello, Play the Game. It's Xiant again. Today I want to talk about stupidity. And of course I'm playing Call of Duty when I'm talking about stupidity, ha ha, Call of Duty joke. But the point is that I was watching Super Bowl 2015, Super Bowl 49 between the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. And some very stupid stuff went down in that game, specifically the pass that almost won the Seahawks the game and then didn't. Because in the last 30 seconds of that game, a man did a juggling act and caught an impossible catch. And then, with about 20 seconds left on the clock, the quarterback threw an interception into the end zone, which is, of course, incredible. But it brought to mind the idea of mechanics or gameplay elements that are completely random. That is to say, they don't happen by virtue of the player's direct will. They happen because there are mechanics in the game that interact with the player's actions in a certain way as to create a very specific, if very odd or very odd-looking outcome, and why these particular moments can be very, very powerful. I like to think of the term the clutch moment. Now, there are certainly clutch moments that happen because a player played smart, played well, and he played fast, and he played timely. He was well aware of all the constraints on him and still came out on top. Then, of course, there are those moments where you're at the other end of the basketball court and you're just like, well, there's 3 seconds left on the clock, I may as well just chuck it. And it goes in and you win the game, or in this case, lose the Super Bowl. But before I go on, I want to clarify that this is not talking about mechanics built into the game like, unfortunately, the blop shot. Second chance exists. Invincibility frames going from alive to not quite dead exist, and the primary weapon not quite dropping until you have just about died. What I'm talking about are these completely random events that have no bearing on in-game mechanics. They are caused, again, by circumstance. And I want to make a case that these instances are exceedingly powerful, but that the highest level players in any sport, be it virtual or real life, they don't create these instances, but they engineer situations in which they are like to happen. One might call it the Hail Mary play in football. There are a number of names for them, some of them even given names for players who pull it off. That is to say, not just try it, but pull it off more often than not. But it is just that. It's a gamble. It is not, however, a gamble based on simple hopes and dreams. It is a gamble based on experience. Because if you are any good at any game of any kind, and if you're watching this, you're at least passable at first-person shooters or just online multiplayer games of a sort, you have some knowledge of the basic mechanics of the game, and you have some experience, some time spent playing. So you have a bank of knowledge that you can draw from to help engineer situations in which you can roll the dice, so to say, because you know that in this situation, with these circumstances, you have pulled this off before. The trick, as I see it, comes down to testing. You have to know that it's not 100% reproducible. You have to know that it doesn't just come down to an exercise of complete and total skill. It has to be, these moments must be a gamble. They must have some element of randomness to them. They can't come down to lag. They can't come down to you manipulating something, other than the situation, that is to say. It must come down ultimately to happenstance. As an example, I was playing Destiny, and I've been playing a lot of Destiny despite my better judgment, and I was playing as a hunter in PvP, and I have a throwing knife, and I'm falling from a very great height, about to do my double jump so I don't die of fall damage, and my finger slips. There is no enemy on my screen in the 65 degrees of field of view angle that I have. There is no enemy there. None. My finger slips, the knife button gets pressed, which in this case would be the melee button. I throw the knife, an instant later I'm awarded with a kill, and then I go on to capture an objective. I cannot recreate this circumstance. What I can do is make a note of where I was on the map, what the situation was of my team versus the enemy team, and then I can make a judgment call. I will not always get that knife to the head instant kill, but I know that if I throw it now, there's some chance that I can get something out of it, And if my goal is trolling, hey, I've succeeded. If my goal is to just have fun, again, I've succeeded. And sometimes you can make these outlandish plays as part of the metagame. That at a certain circumstance on a map with such and such a setup of players on the field, doing this will 20% of the time create this out. And indeed, the highest level of play, they have tested this enough that they have it down to probably several decimal points worth of percentage chance. And when the game is on the line, sometimes an act of sheer stupidity works. In the case of the Seahawks versus the Patriots, it didn't. It did it first, and then it didn't. And that's what you have to be careful of. Try it, but don't get cocky, because arrogance will outdo any stupidity any day.